In just over 15 minutes, Kilroy's studio audience will be debating the subject of the government's proposed student loan scheme. Now though, taking your calls on the early edition of Open Air, Eamon Holmes and Jane Irving.
Hello there, good morning. This morning we're looking for your views on the England Rebel Cricket Tour of South Africa. If you've got an opinion on it, give us a ring, 0618140424. We'll be coming to that shortly and having a bit of a discussion on it. But if you were watching yesterday's programme, you'll know that I was down at the farm with the folk at Emmerdale. Well, today it's Jane Irving's turn. I was out, of course, braving the elements, but she's opted for the cosy bit. The production centre where all the series interiors are shot. It's at Sunny Mill, near Leeds.
Yes, I thought they'd made a mistake actually when they sent me here, because even to a townie like me, this does not look like...
Well, she did tell me she was there, but obviously with a slight hiccup with showing you that, but more from Jane live later. For the moment, let's see what you've been ringing in about. Here is the first open line of the day.
I've just been watching the Ben Elton show on Channel 1, and frankly, I'm disgusted with his cheap, left-wing, crude and self-opinionated performance. It really saddens me that the BBC have come down to this level.
There was nothing funny about Ben Elton's show. It was very nasty. May it be please discontinued.
I started this evening to watch the Ben Elton programme, The Man from Auntie, and while watching it for about 10 minutes or so, I was absolutely disgusted with it. It was the most awful show that I've ever had to watch. Well, I've ever watched, not had to watch. It should not be shown. His language was filthy. It was a filthy programme.
And the rest of the complaints for the rest of the day will probably concern us. Sorry about that little loss of picture there, but Ben Elton, my goodness me, didn't he get you going last night? Maybe we'll get the man himself on the phone to answer a few of those criticisms later on in the programme. Now, a little later, I will be talking to Michael Cockrell, who's just returned from South Africa, where he has been making a film about the Rebel Cricket Tour. If you would like to talk to him about what he was doing or express an opinion on the cricket tour, give us a call, 0618140424. The lines are open and manned. But first, on a less controversial note, hopefully this time we can go down to the farm with Jane.
Yes, I'm not actually on the farm, of course. I'm inside the mill, where there are just loads and loads of sets for Emmerdale. And behind me you can see Kathy Merrick's living room, and over there there's the kitchen, and that's where Joe Sugden used to bring. There's a little bit of a love nest. He used to bring his girlfriends back there. Let's wander over now. We're going to go and have a look at the home farm set. And of course, in happier days, Mr. Turner used to be here, but since he hit hard times, he's had to move out. The Tates have moved in now. They're a bit nouveau. Anyway, Mr. Turner is here with Seth, of course, alias Richard Thorpe and Stan Richards. Nice to see you. I suppose it's a bit nostalgic for you being in here.
Yes, it's very upsetting, really. I would never have tolerated this wallpaper.
I know.
They've improved it somewhat, haven't they, though, really? Nonsense, Seth.
And what would Seth feel being back in here?
Oh, very much at home, I think. Very much at home. He wasn't allowed to sit down when I was here.
Now, you're not quite as sort of broad Yorkshire in real life, are you? You're a bit. I hear you're a bit yuppie.
Really, I am really. I'm just trying to impress people this morning. I'm from Barnsley, you see, so can't get broader Yorkshire than that.
I hear awful rumours that you don't like being in the outdoors either. Is this true?
I'm more of an indoor type, really. I don't like walking about on the countryside with feet this size. You could ruin it, you know, so I keep away from it if I can.
How about you? Are you sort of a country person, do you think?
I don't actually have to move too far, because I've got an awful lot to move, as you can see. But I'm very happy to be outside and examining the view from a comfortable chair is my way of doing it.
Now, what about Mr. Turner? I mean, has he sort of got nicer, do you think, over the years? Because he wasn't that nice to start with,
Yes, I think he has. He's become a buffoon, I think, really, because everything he tries to do always goes wrong, and everybody knows it's going to go wrong except him. and usually it goes wrong because of this one.
OK, let's talk to our first caller now. Is Elizabeth Hiscutt, who's calling from Shrewsbury. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello. Yes, I'd just like to say congratulations to everybody at Emmerdale. I think it's a really good programme. But I'd like to say that I think Alan Turner, the characters of Alan Turner and Seth Armstrong are two of the best characters in Emmerdale and one of the best double acts on television at the moment. But they seem to be getting on rather well recently, and we don't see as much of them together as we used to. I hope they aren't going to be phased out altogether. They're my favourite characters. I hope they can reassure me.
Well, as far as we know, we're not going to be phased out. It is a fact, since the Tates moved into this particular domicile, that we don't get together quite as much as we used to.
Yes,
but,
yes, that's true.
We still see enough of each other. Have a good look at him.
Well, I'm able to keep him in his place when he's outside at the fish farm and try and get him to do some work. I mean, I've spent, what, 8 years now trying to get him to do some work. The day will come. The day will come.
OK, Elizabeth, thanks very much for that. What do you think about the new developments at Emmerdale? Because they have become a bit more sort of yuppified, haven't they, recently?
I think there's always room for change, if it's done in a nice, gradual way. But as Elizabeth says, we don't want to lose too much of the old ways because they were quite successful.
Yes, we don't want to lose too much of the old ways because they're us.
You must feel like you've almost become the characters over the... I mean, how long have you been playing?
I've been here for 12 years almost.
It's incredible, isn't it?
I only came for a month.
You're joking, really?
I did. I stick around, though. When I onto something good, I stay.
So, did you have any idea that it would be as successful as
no.
it has been then?
No, none at all.
OK, well, it's great talking to you. We're having such fun today. And you can chat to Seth and Mr Turner later. And also we'll be joined by Dolly and Chris Tate. And all you have to do if you want to talk to them, that's after 11 o'clock, is give us a ring on the usual number, 061 814 0424.
And we're back here in the studio. Our guest this morning is Michael Cockrell, who's just returned from South Africa, where he's been making a film for BBC Two's Sports Current Affairs programme On the Line. They aim to follow the progress of the rebel cricket tour, led, of course, by Mike Gatting. Michael, it may sound a rather naive question, but if I was a cricketer and I was touring South Africa in these very controversial terms, why on earth would I want to be shadowed by a film crew like yourselves?
It's a good question. I mean, I went to see Mike Gatting before the tour started and said, have you got a camera team going round with you? And he said no. And I said, could we follow you round? Could we have total access to the players? Could we have total access to the dressing room? Make a, you know the expression, a fly on the wall film. I suppose I wanted to make a fly on the jockstrap film. And he said yes. And
Are you surprised he said yes?
I think even at that stage, he was feeling that he and the players had been totally misrepresented, and so a film which would follow them around and allow them to show what they felt and what they were saying, he thought that might help balance the sort of coverage he'd been getting.
Does that show a sort of naivety, maybe, in the man?
Mike Gatting was a man who went to South Africa saying, I don't know anything about apartheid. He's a chap who left school with virtually no formal education at the age of 15 or 16 and became a plumber's mate. And he suddenly he's been thrown into the maelstrom of international politics as well as the maelstrom of cricket administration. And he's actually not the sort of person as he comes over on television in formal interviews. He's actually brighter and shrewder than that.
So if the intentions were good, perhaps, on the tour, I mean, mixed crowds watching the matches, the tuition in the townships. Rennie Wright from Lewis has phoned in. Cannot see what harm they did. They helped the youngsters by giving them tuition. Well, did they? What happened to all these good intentions? What actually was the end result?
Well, you said if the intentions were good. I mean, there are many people who would say that the intentions were evil. As Gerald Kaufman, in his normal understated way, said that the cricketers had their hands covered with blood-soaked Krugerrand and all that sort of thing. And there are many people who would say that he went there and the others, and they were propping up apartheid. The other side of the coin is that the man who organised the tour, Dr. Ali Bakr, himself a former captain of South Africa, has been promoting cricket in the black townships like Soweto and has been bringing cricket to young African kids, and the intention was that when the Mike Gatting's team went over there, they would coach the boys in the township. But because the tour attracted such controversy and such ferocious demonstrations, they never ever went to the townships.
Let me get an opinion from a viewer now. John Stafford. Hello, John.
Oh, good morning, cheers.
Good morning, John. Your opinion on the cricket tour?
Well, I rang up, reference the money side of it. Mike Gatting and the cricket team have gone to there to get as much money as possible, because Mike is going to retire soon, or leaving cricket, as he stated openly on television or on the papers, and he wants money out of it. In any profession that he goes, they want money. Now in England they're not getting that money, and they've obviously gone out there to get the money.
So is that good or bad in your opinion? Is that justified or not?
Well, they're entitled to, they're making a living, they're entitled to it. I don't think the partake comes into it whatsoever.
Okay, what sort of dough are we talking about here, really? We've had all sorts of figures in the press, but what really does it boil down to?
Well, it boils down to, in Gatting's case, he's getting £200,000 for 2 tours, one this year and one next year. He's getting about £2,500 a day for those tours. Against that, he has he was in the England side. He might have been captain of the England side again. He had another 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of money that he's no longer can play for England for the next 6 or 7 years. So that 200,000 has got to pay for that. But
being out there, Michael, and witnessing, following them around, seeing what they saw, did they really see a lot of what was going on? Did they form opinions about what was going on? Had they a chance to speak to black deputations and whatever? What was the situation
they saw very little of what was going on. They tended to be closeted either in their hotels or at the cricket grounds. There was massive security around them, and at the cricket grounds they had a plainclothes police bodyguard of detachment of at least 6 people who followed them everywhere, as well as police guarding the ground and Alsatians and so on. They couldn't go out. They saw very little of what was going on. Even in their hotels, they got some sense of it when the black waiters and hotel maids would refuse to make their beds or do their laundry or serve them. But they saw very little of what was going on outside.
Did they make any attempt to see what was going on outside?
They were really told that their security would be in danger, and it would have been very difficult for them to have gone to the township.
Right.
There was, I mean, you asked if they met the protesters. Gatting made a point of meeting the protesters at various grounds, and at one stage in Pietermaritzburg he went and met them, and as he came back he was pelted with soft drinks can and gravel thrown in his face, and so were we in the camera crew.
Okay, this brings up another point which a lot of people have phoned in about. Adrian Barnett from Daventry being one of them. He's saying all they wanted to do was to play cricket. They didn't want to get involved in politics. Now again, a lot of the players said that as well. Is it so naive to say that sport and politics, you know, shouldn't be connected?
I mean, it's an interesting one. That sport and politics are integrally connected and have always been connected, you know, since the Olympics in 1936 in Berlin and Jesse Owens, the black athlete, and all that sort of thing. And countries always use sport for political reasons. And to go to South Africa and say that I'm just here to play cricket is intensely naive. But there's been a great deal of hypocrisy about cricket. It's been singled out. At the same time as they were there were 50 American golfers playing in the South African PGA Championship, and no one said a word about them.
Okay, well, Michael, we'll look with interest at your programme, which is 27th of February, I understand, BBC 2.
At 10 past 8 in the evening.
At 10 past 8 in the evening. We will wait for that and maybe have you back again with further opinions from the public on it. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, let's now rejoin my country cousin down on the farm.
That's right, I'm in the Tate's lounge, and here you can see the family portrait. We're going to be meeting Chris Tate a little bit later on. I've also been having a snoop around and discovered that they have real letters addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Tate and posted and everything, and even a proper invoice to the haulage company. Anyway, as I say, you can talk to Chris Tate, and also Dolly's going to be joining us, and we're also going to be able to talk again to Mr. Turner and to Seth, so they're staying here in the lounge. So do give us a call, we'll see you then after 11.
Yeah, also one of Emmerdale's biggest fans, Mr. James Whale from the James Whale Radio Show. Would you believe it? Give him a ring, and we'll be talking to an American computer hacker expert Clifford Stoll, who broke up an espionage ring led by the KGB. All of that on Open Air just after 11 o'clock. Give us a ring if you've got a view on computer hacking. 061 814 0424. See you later on. Bye-bye.